Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
Well, so I had Okay, how about this? I was thinking, why do we make changes in our life, especially late in life?
Well, I'm trying to make my life a little bit better. I think I'm trying to adjust and if those last for me, right? I mean, another 40 years maybe. I'm trying to live that best life I can.
Okay. Well, the reason why I'm because I think about something we talked about a long time ago about living life by design versus life by default. Okay. And a lot of times it feels like life dictates where we go.
Yeah.
What we do, how we do it. We start a job. Well, this is only temporary because I need some money right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy, it's convenient. And then 10 years go by.
Yeah.
15 years go by. And you're going, my gosh, this isn't anywhere close to what I wanted to do. This isn't where I thought my life would be.
Yeah.
And so then the big question comes with, well, I want to do something different. But that also requires a mindset change.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of fear in making a change, altering, shifting direction, stuff like that would lead to a different kind of career, a different kind of life.
Mm-hmm.
And so the big question, so I was thinking about that because, you and I both have taken big changes.
Sure.
And I thought, well, how many people, or how many times do we not make choices because we're afraid?
I mean, so I if I reflect on my life, right, I think I've made a lot of choices. And I feel like I almost haven't been fearful enough sometimes of some of that change. But I've gotten to do a lot of different things, so that's been fun. But, some of that has come about because, like you said, like circumstances changed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't all on purpose. So that's been just kind of the pattern that I've gone through.
Okay. Well, because I stumbled across an article. Mm-hmm. It was on Psychology Today, and the guy that wrote it his name was Kenneth Miller. He's a professor at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. He's a published author, and he talks about being able to make change.
Yeah.
And he says that he does a lot of psychology stuff in his article, but what got me was the idea of the internal debates that we have of I want to change, but I'm afraid to change.
Sure.
And how to embrace the change and how to let go of that fear.
Yeah.
And so I thought we'd kind of dive into, this idea because it really hit home to me that I won't, how many times do I want to try doing something different? I mean, I will tell you this. I go to the restaurant, Sharon and I go to some of our favorite places, and I almost always get the same thing.
I do that too, right? Like at whatever restaurant I'm at, I get what I get there. Uh-huh. I hardly ever try anything different than that. So.
And so the big question is, why? I mean, do you look at the menu? Do you think, ooh, I'm going to try something different today, and then you don't?
I mean, I do look it over, but ultimately I come back to, I really like that thing. I don't know if I want to try the other thing.
Why?
Well, I'm paying money, right? And I've got a sure thing there that I know I like. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want to pay money for something that I might not like.
And I think that is the dilemma that most of us face in making big decisions for our life. Do I move? Do I change jobs? Do I, all the big things that, okay, we have a very dear friend of ours. He wants to retire, but he doesn't know what to do when he retires.
Right.
He's afraid to make a change.
Sure.
And so I thought that how many people do we know that kind of are stuck in a position because they're, well, essentially afraid. kind of like you and I at the restaurant. We're going to stick with something we know because better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Sure.
And so that's what I liked about this article, because this professor, he mentions, ways to tackle that. And so I thought I would dive into that if you're okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think this speaks to comfort, right? Like, I am comfortable with that thing that I order at the restaurant. And I know that I'm going to come away happy. Is it going to be the best ever? Probably not. If I do switch what I'm eating, I probably go to something that looks even better, right? Like
right.
That I can know is even better. I did this the other day. I went to Benihana's.
Okay, yeah.
Love those performances.
Oh.
And, I always get the one thing. Mm-hmm. And it used to be the top priced dish there. I figure if I'm going to go there and spend all the money, I might as well get the best thing I can get.
Yeah.
And now they have another one that's higher than that. And
really?
And has jumbo shrimp in it. So I'm all about that. So I got that one instead, $6 more, but I was like, it has everything that my other one had in it, plus this. So I'm good with that.
Okay.
So I was comfortable with that and I loved it. It was good. I'll get it next time. But I generally only switch something when I can be reasonably assured that it is much better or somewhat better than what I have now.
Okay.
What I would choose. So,
well, and
that's thinking about that going forward. Like that's something that I've kind of lived by, and probably why I've changed so many careers.
Okay. Well, because I am a creature of habit. Mm-hmm. I don't like change. I have argued that the two things I hate the most are changing jobs and changing addresses.
Sure.
Because there's just so much involved and there's a lot of uncertainty. And so in this article, he talks about there's kind of a civil war within us. We want to change, but we're afraid to change.
Sure.
We want something better, but we're afraid, what if it's not as good as what we imagine it to be? Mm-hmm. And so the idea is to try, I guess part of what they're saying, that this fear of change goes back to our past.
Okay.
And that we have been involved in something that scares us to try. Some kind of, they use a traumatic event, but some of the things they talk about are like rejection. Mm-hmm. Okay, we've tried something new and we got rejected. You try something new at the restaurant and it turns out to not be that good.
Right.
Well, okay, see, I took a risk. It failed. Don't risk. Mm-hmm. And so these kinds of things they talk about help hold us back. And so the idea is to address these kinds of fears, and because the article is talking about mindfulness.
Right.
And what mindfulness can do. And I've actually been starting to do some of that myself more frequently when I'm getting stressed, when I'm getting frustrated, when I'm getting anxious, when I'm getting nervous.
Right.
I will do a variety of breathing techniques which kind of help calm me down.
Mm-hmm. We talked about those, I think, one of the recent times.
Yeah. And I need to let my left logical brain be able to be more in control than my right side emotional brain. Mm-hmm. Because we both know that decisions made emotionally are not always the best decisions.
Right.
And so I thought that, as he's talking about this, I'm going, okay, how many times have I looked back and go, okay, I'm afraid to try because. And, because the last time I tried, or, I tried something similar and it was an epic fail, or it didn't work out the way I wanted.
Yeah.
And because we want to shield ourselves from pain. We want to shield ourselves from rejection.
See, now I understand, that kind of apprehension, but I haven't actually lived it.
Okay.
So I think I have a different experience where I jumped out of my childhood home before I graduated high school.
Right.
And got married when I was 19. And, jumped into IT consulting and, management of IT in a Fortune 500 company fairly early. Mm-hmm. Jumped out of that and jumped right into another career. Jumped out of that one a couple of years later when something better came along, and I jumped into, fireworks as a career. And so, like, I have jumped ship so many times, and I actually enjoy it.
Okay.
So it's somewhat of a different experience where I like change.
Okay.
And I actually find adventure in it.
Perfect.
Right. So that for me, but my thing about change, though, like changing jobs, changing places, situations, whatever, is all about I don't do it unless I get something better.
Sure.
Right. Just like at the restaurant.
Yeah.
And so I have to be reasonably assured that it's going to be better than my current situation. And then I'm okay with doing it. I mean, I jumped out of a northeastern state to Florida, and then I jumped from there to Texas. I mean, that's big changes to address. And even in Florida, I changed addresses to, a couple hours from different places. So it is big change, but for some reason it doesn't scare me.
And that's part of what the article talks about, is the idea that we have within ourselves that ability to change, that ability to take control and just do it. Because our fears are most of the time manufactured within our brain that are not totally there.
Right.
And so we're imagining a worst case scenario rather than a best case scenario. And so they talk about, to help with this mindfulness, to help us make these changes, these better changes, to do something that would benefit us across the board in every way possible, is to think of the 4 C's.
Okay.
Which are curiosity, calmness, clarity, and compassion.
Okay.
The biggest one, having compassion for ourselves. To take, to be willing to risk, because as you just identified, you don't worry about it because the risk is a lot lower than the reward.
Right.
But I think back to, okay, you raised 3 kids. How many times did they not do something because they were afraid that the risk was higher than the reward?
Yeah, I mean, probably a lot. But again, that was a thing in my house where I said, you evaluate it and you do things that put you in a better situation. And so that's something that I actually taught to my kids.
That's really good. I'm glad that you were able to do that. I'm glad that they were able to receive that education. But do you think that's the norm, or do you think that's unusual?
I do not think that's the norm. I think I've met few people in my life who have done that kind of thing. But I do think it's a good system. It's a good way to approach any kind of decision making where change is involved.
Which is why I felt that this article really spoke out loud, at least to me, because there are chances that I should have taken that I look back and I'm going, man, I wished I'd have done that.
And I would agree, right? There are for me too. I'm not saying every decision was easy and I'm just, flying by the seat of my pants and am just graced with, all the best things coming my way constantly. That's not true. I've been jobless. I've been laid off. I've had circumstances come to me, and I've had times where I've allowed circumstances to rule. And, some of that is fear. I mean, I probably could have gone another direction. When I ended up outside of IT, I probably could have, done the 2 to 2.5 hour commute into a city and made a ton of money. But as I evaluate the betterness of a situation, for me, money isn't the whole of the situation.
Yeah. Right? It's an important part, but it's not. For me, I agree with you. It's not the driving part.
But for me, family was much more important. And if I sacrificed, 3 to 5 hours a day in traffic, that's 3 to 5 hours a day I lost with my family and my kids.
And that's part of what he also talks about in this article, is to step back. Take a look, instead of allowing our emotions to drive us, allowing that right brain to dominate, to take a step back, to observe and allow a little bit of reflection to take place and decide, what do you really want? Like you were just describing, family was more important than, the massive paycheck. And so what that allows us to do by doing so, to be able to do what you just described, allows, again, that logic brain to come about for us to be able to kind of restructure our thought process and going, okay, let's evaluate. And if we can do this as part of that mindfulness, it's not just breathing entirely, but it's about restructuring our thought process. And when we can do that, well, we tend to be willing to take a risk rather than to reject it and fearfully go, no, I'm just going to stay where I'm at.
See, this is interesting because recently I read about a comedian, and the comedian that I can't remember his name, but he worked with Seinfeld.
Okay.
And, was part of all that early on. He's pretty funny. But anyway, he talked about how he had an opportunity to go from New York to LA and be in a TV show.
Okay.
And he talked about it with his wife, and he thought it over, and he turned it down. And there was several opportunities for him to do this, and he kept turning them down. And they said, what do you want to do? And he said, I'm a comedian. And they said, but don't you want to do TV? And he said, not if it means being away from my family for 6 weeks at a time. That's what mattered to him. And I would agree with that. I think that's a bold statement, right? That's a bold choice in a world that values money over so many things, to make that choice to do something that's not necessarily about money. And I think that can be scary, because money is needed for everything.
Oh, absolutely.
And it ain't getting any more valuable.
No.
So, so I think, and maybe money is, people who are listening, maybe that's their value. Maybe they're single and they just want to gain wealth. Right?
Sure.
And so that's a little bit easier. But when you have other things to consider, it's okay to have those things have a lot of weight.
And again, you're right. It comes down to what drives us.
Yeah.
And part of this whole concept of mindfulness encourages us to reflect on, what do we really put value on?
Yeah.
And make decisions, take risks based on slow deliberation that centers around what we truly want.
Right.
Now, that's not always easy. Again, we've got a lot of history. And the more life you live, the more history you have that can point to, well, you remember when we did this? Oh, remember when we tried that too? And so these things can hold us back, but that's what I like about this whole concept of mindfulness. It gives us an opportunity to reframe, why are we afraid?
Sure.
And what's the benefit versus the risk or cost?
Now, in doing that mindfulness exercise, do you ever feel like, do you think that you can take that too far and deliberate too long?
I think you can. I think you can overdo anything and everything. It's about, and I think that at some point you realize, oh my gosh, I really overanalyzed this. I've made it more complex and complicated than it really needs to be. At which point, that's part of the whole process is, okay, let's go back. Let's reassess. And let's reframe what we're trying to do. And let's look at, again, what are our objections and why?
Right.
What are the rewards and why? And the whole concept is about being critical and analytical, using that left side and trying to withdraw that emotion side from dictating our actions.
Right.
And so by doing these kinds of things, it can actually be a little bit of freeing. That's maybe the better word I'm searching for. Sorry. Because now you're going, oh, Because I sometimes feel like when we react emotionally, we're kind of like imprisoning ourselves.
Well, I mean, just by what you just said, it's a reaction, right? And reactions do not, they're not well thought.
No.
Reactions are in the moment.
Yeah.
And reactions are typically associated with circumstance. And so that causes you to actually let your circumstances rule the direction of your life.
Oh,
whereas if you pause and do the mindfulness thing and deliberate with yourself and your partner and whoever else might be involved in that or affected by that decision, you get a much better decision. But you can't wait too long.
No.
Opportunities come.
Yes.
And opportunities go.
Well, and part of one of the mindfulness strategies that are discussed here that I've been using both on myself and with my clients is when you're thinking about these issues, where in your body do you feel it?
Right.
And allowing you to kind of heal from that. Well, it's okay, I'm feeling it in my neck and shoulders. Well, okay, that's a lot of stress. That's a lot of anxiety bearing down on your shoulders. And okay, well, then let's focus on that. How can we make that better?
Now, I'm definitely not a professional like you, but in my 50s, I might be confused by that because I'm feeling a lot of things in my body all over the place.
Well, that is true.
Right. But I guess you're talking about like out of the norm.
Right. But even then, you think about, okay, you're trying to make a decision, and when you're stressed or under a little anxiety or a little pressure, you feel it in different parts of your body.
Sure.
And so that's kind of part of the mindfulness is, okay, let's explore.
Yeah.
Let's explore why.
I hear people say that all the time. I'm really stressed out and my neck is killing me. I'm stressed out and I have a bad headache. And I never hear them say, I'm feeling great and I have a bad headache, right? Or everything's going awesome, but my back hurts. It's usually there's a something stressing in life, anxiety, something's happening, and then they can associate that directly with some kind of item that you could medicate.
Well, yes.
That's not necessarily the answer.
No, it's a temporary fix. Sure. But when, as you're exploring these kinds of things, then we can start looking at okay, what are our triggers?
Right.
What are our triggers that potentially lead to then these feelings, these emotional responses that give us then these physical pains? Because, we've talked time and again about if we don't address them, the body is going to continue to process these emotions. So we can either tackle it head on or we can ignore it, but it's still going to, we're just delaying facing those consequences of ignoring it. But I like the idea that tackle these things head on, giving ourselves some self-compassion, giving ourselves a little bit of grace in what we're looking to do.
Yeah. I think figuring out what to do is important. I said I like adventure. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I've moved great distances. Mm-hmm. And I still enjoy it. I think it has provided me with a lot in life that I have learned that I can continue to grow. I have friends in far-flung places now because of that. And when I travel back to those places, I still have people to see and catch up with and things like that. And that's all very fulfilling. I mean, I know you have the same when you go to other states. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know that I'm going to do that again, but this late in life, but I think if I think about it, I think that I would like to tell my 20-something self, right, to really assess what it is I wanted in life, right? Mm-hmm. The big challenge in life has always been what is the meaning of life, right?
That's pretty deep.
We don't need to go into the philosophical meaning of life. You just have to think about what is the meaning of my life, and so if you work that life away, don't let circumstances drive it, but work it towards things that you like and that fulfill you. Mm-hmm. That's much better. I mean, I've done several things like that over my life. Some of them have faded away. Some of them come back. and manifest in different ways. But, doing all the different things, I have felt very fulfilled in what I was doing. And I feel like I make a difference in other people. And that is important to me. So, so change isn't necessarily hard, because I look for things that will give me maybe more of that influence of change for other people, maybe more of that influence in their lives. And at the same time, it brings me change, like in my own life and who I am and what I'm learning.
I think,
so, I know that's all very deep.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
But that's the mindfulness that I'm thinking in my 50s.
We did a thing a long time ago about if you could go back in time and say 5 words to your younger self.
Sure.
What would you say? And the answer for me, and again, this is a little off topic, but the answer is I would say absolutely nothing, because everything that I've experienced, the good, the bad, and the ugly,
sure,
made me who I am today. And I kind of like who I am because, as you mentioned, I figured a lot of this stuff out. I still got a long ways to go. I'm not, that epiphany end of woohoo, I know everything, and,
Sure.
But I feel comfortable in my own skin.
Right.
And part of this has been taking new risks. When I gave up my teaching job to go into counseling, that has been probably the most difficult thing that I have had so much self-doubt. Going, did I really make the right choice in this? And the answer is yes, be patient.
Yeah.
And I have done a lot of meditation. I've done a lot of praying. I've done a lot of self-reflection. And that's kind of what this article is talking about, that take leadership of your life, take ownership, but lead from the front and lead by example, in essence, by addressing these things, these fears that we have. Look, it's not that bad.
Would you say that doing that, making that change, that was very difficult? I know. And I know a lot of people looked at it with, wonder. not as, just as it's a risk. Right. But there's, would you say that that's given you the ability, though, to prepare more for this new career and to learn things that you might not have had as much time to learn?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so that's important, right? Because that's preparing you for what's coming. And, doing counseling is not like going to go away.
No, no, not at all. And it's just, like I say, it's a little bit different, but in working with the clients, it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
And I have one client that goes, you said something that really struck me, or I like when you said this, or and I'm going, I want to say to him, dude, do you have any idea how important you make me feel?
Right.
How validating to me you are in these statements, even though it's supposed to be the other way around. But it is part of this retraining that we can go through.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I say, I really enjoyed this particular article because mindfulness does work.
It does.
When we give it the opportunity to work.
And what I was saying about having a better situation, like overall, aside from the money, because I know the money is not as important to you overall, but, aside from that, do you feel like it's a better situation for you personally?
It's lower stress, but it's a different kind of stress. Yes. It's a fun challenge.
Do you feel like it takes a shift towards your purpose?
I think it does.
And so that's important.
And
because that's going to be very fulfilling.
Absolutely. And that's part of what gave me the strength and the courage to do something pretty different. I mean, there's a lot of similarities in counseling as in teaching.
Right.
But at the same time, there's a lot of things that are different. And as a new therapist, I am at the bottom of the pay scale.
Yeah.
And I took a significant pay cut to do this. But sometimes you got to make a shift and take it on the chin a little bit because I know where this will go. We'll rephrase that. No, I don't know. I have a pretty safe bet on where this will go.
Right.
I know what I want to do. I'm slowly heading in the direction I want to go. It just, again, you have to give yourself a little time, give yourself a little grace, a little compassion.
I generally think that risk is where the reward is.
Yes.
And that low risk leads to low reward.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we
financially and every other way.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
because we wage a war within ourselves.
Right.
As to should I not
say no.
Many times I have
you will
said
eventually
no.
Go with circumstance.
Yes, because I was afraid. I was intimidated by the risk.
Well,
so
I mean, I congratulate you for taking the time or taking the chance to give up such a, I won't say lucrative career in teaching, but more lucrative than starting out in a new career to do that because I think that's going to pay off for you in a lot of ways. So
thanks.
That's a good leap to take.
Well, and it's this again. I guess maybe that's why this particular article really hit home is that the allowance of mindfulness to give you the opportunity to consider everything that we've talked about as to what do we really want? Mm-hmm. What is most important to us? And so it was tough. 23 years in a school. And now I'm doing something different. But it is rewarding, and I guess it's never too late to try something new. So I guess when I go to Benihana's, I may have to try something new too.
Colonel Sanders started KFC at 65, so
that's true. He did.
So there you go. Right, big change.
Yes,
big risk.
Yes,
big reward.
I'm nowhere close to old as Colonel Sanders. So
closer than you were yesterday.
Sad but true.
So anyway, I think it sounds great. I think hopefully people will evaluate and maybe take some leaps.
Yes. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, as they like to say. Yep. So anyway, well,
all right.
Thanks for indulging me again. You always seem to do that, so I appreciate you.
That's no problem.
So, well, I guess then until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
See ya.
Bye-bye.